Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay.
Screens are visual, sir.
So thank you very much for this opportunity. Good afternoon to everybody. And today I'm going to discuss one of the topics which is very least discussed in our forum. But at the same time, it is so important in our day-to-day life that no household and no kitchen and nobody can live without it. So what I'm going to discuss in next 20 minutes is about the cooking oils. And the topic has been deliberately chosen by Dr. Vittal. In fact, he proposed this topic to me. The reason being that this was an article which was editorial actually published, written by me and published in one of the leading newspapers in Punjab. And the reason of writing this editorial was when the legendary cricketer Saurav Ganguly suffered an acute MI and timely primary angioplasty was done. But unfortunately, what happened that the oil, the oil for which he was a brand ambassador, that was taken off air from the TV channels, and it created a lot of the confusion among the public whether the oil is responsible for this major catastrophic or the heart attacks. And secondly, the reason of writing this article at that point of time was for the social cause, because I mentioned in this article that it is important for the brand ambassadors, for the celebrities, to assess the brand before they promote such brands, because we have many Bollywood celebrities who promote tobacco chewing, who promote soft drinks, and which are more or less not recommended by the health professionals. So the reason of that is why the topic was the oil of misfortune. But now, as Dr. Vittal has made me to talk about this oil of misfortune, I don't feel we will be discussing about the misfortune part of it, but I will try to make it very important and very lucid for the common man, for the common person to understand how and when we should, what kind of oil we should use in our day-to-day practice. Coming to the vegetable oils, we have number of brands, and each brand is claiming to have more score than the other brands. So it creates a lot of confusion when the household personal goes into the market and he has to choose the vegetable oil. So it becomes a very confusing for him or her. So before we go in further, we need to understand that what actually are the components of the oils or the fats. We basically have three components: the fatty acids, the essential fatty acids, and the trans fatty acids. The fatty acids can be saturated, they can be polyunsaturated, what we call the PUFA, or polyunsaturated fatty acids, or the monounsaturated fatty acids, the MUFA. The essential fatty acids are ones which are not made by the body. So we don't synthesize the essential fatty acids. So we have to take these essential fatty acids from the other sources like the natural oils of plants and the fish. And the third category of the fatty acids is the trans fatty acids. These are actually the saturated fatty acids which are hydrogenated, wherein the hydrogen is being added or partially hydrogenated so that they can have a longer shelf life. So this is the importance of the trans fatty acids. But I need to mention here that these trans fatty acids are the ones which are very pathogenic for our health. So we have the oils and various compositions. You can see the trans fatty acids, the Vanspati ghee. We believe in Ayurveda, and then the Vanspati ghee, we used to take this Vanspati ghee some time back. Then margarine. This is a high and a rich source of the trans fatty acids. The saturated fatty acids, it is seen in the desi ghee, what we take in our day-to-day practices, day-to-day life, the butter and the palm oil. The polyunsaturated fatty acids are seen in the safflower oil, the sunflower oil, or the soybean oils. And the monounsaturated fatty acids are seen in extra virgin olive oil, mustard oil, canola, and the groundnuts. And the balanced, I will be discussing in the coming slides about the balanced these fatty acids. These are seen in the rice bran, the groundnut oil, the mustard oil, and the extra virgin olive oil. So when we come to the history of cooking oils in India, we Indians or the South Asians have a different pattern of cooking the foods. We have a different, cultural implications or the cultural, preferences of taking the food. The North Indians, they have a different food eating pattern. They have a different cooking pattern as compared to the South Indians. So within a country of within a single country, we have a diverse cooking. We are living in a diversity, and at the same time, we are living in a diverse situations where the cooking oils, the pattern of cooking is also different. But time tested and traditionally, if we see the mustard oil, the groundnut oil, and occasionally the clarified butter, what we call the desi ghee, they have been used by Indians and South Asian or South Indian Asians since decades. But finally, what happened after some time, the food revolution occurred, and because of you cannot store these mustard oils, or groundnut oils, or desi ghee for a longer time, so they wanted to store it for a longer time, have a longer shelf life. So they started hydrogenating these vegetable oils, and it got converted to the vanaspati ghee. And over the next decade, so we changed from taking the cheap and the practical oils to the healthy oils. Then came the concept of being healthy, and we started talking about the healthy oils as well. So massive shift in the practice occurred, and oils low in saturated fatty acids such as sunflower oil or safflower oil were consumed. They were high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. But then came the MUFA revolution, what we call the monounsaturated fatty acids. And you can see the balanced oils are the ones where the ratio of the saturated fatty acids, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, and the monounsaturated fatty acids are in the ratio of 1:1:1. So ultimately, this led to another changeover in practice, and some oils high in MUFA became favored. That if we follow the history, we have come from the mustard oil to the vanaspati ghees to the oils low in the saturated fats in the form of sunflower oil or safflower oil. Then we came to the what we have nowadays, the canola or the extra virgin olive oils. So are all fats equal? This is a very important thing to be to be discussed here. That whether we are whatever oils we take, are they all same? So there is a consensus among the experts that all oils are not equal. So we have to understand. So when we are going out for purchasing and cooking oil, we need to understand that all oils are not equal. And there's a growing evidence that oils rich in the monounsaturated fatty acids, or those that are balanced, they are the healthiest of all. Little bit worse than these balanced oils are the ones that contain predominantly polyunsaturated fatty acids, the safflower oil, the sunflower oil. This is the this is the oil, the sunflower oil, the safflower oil, which was being promoted by for which the cricketer was the brand ambassador. So before signing for the promotion, one should the celebrity should understand that they need to give the right information to the people. The worst villain among the fats is the oils rich in the trans fatty acids. So if we grade an oil from an unsafe to the safe, this is the pattern we should understand. The oil is having a high content or a high concentration of trans fatty acids. They are very unsafe as compared to the ones having the saturated fatty acids, which is more worse than the oil is having the polyunsaturated fatty acids, which is more worse than the monounsaturated fatty acids or the balanced oils. So this is the grading once the person goes out for the shopping for the cooking oil or using the cooking oil in the kitchen. This is the grading he should understand, and he should look for the percentage and the contents of these fatty acids in the oil. So as I talked about the trans fatty acids, they are the most dangerous for the body. And you can see the 5 retrospective and the 4 prospective studies. They have demonstrated the positive associations between the trans fatty acid consumption and the cardiovascular events. And you can see for every 2% energy of trans fatty acid consumption, the risk of coronary artery disease increased by about 20 to 30%. On the other hand, if we replace about 5% of food energy from the saturated fatty acids with non-trans fatty acids, that means if we replace the 5% of our oil or the and this calories from by changing the saturated fatty acids to the balanced oils, the risk of coronary artery disease decreases by 43%. So just a small change in our healthy cooking habits will make a marked difference in our health status. It is not only the heart which is affected because of these trans fatty acids. There has been enough data to correlate the trans fatty acids with diabetes, breast and colon cancer, the pregnancy complications, obesity, and the allergy as well. And it was in June 2015 that FDA finally declared that partially hydrogenated oils, the artificial trans fatty acids, are not generally recognized as safe. So they call them as not generally recognized as safe GRAS. So how are these trans fatty acids made exactly? So trans fatty acids, they are natural trans fats. They are found in the various animals also, but mostly they are they are made by an industrial process. We're not going to discuss about what there are different processes by which they are hydrogenated, but what we need to know is the ultimate thing, that the trans fatty acids are made by hydrogenating and saturated fatty acids to the partially or hydrogenated oils. The one study conducted by National Diabetes, Obesity and Cholesterol Foundation and the IIT Delhi, and another study conducted by Diabetes Foundation of India, they have revealed that reuse of oils in home cooked foods forms the high levels of trans fatty acids. So it is not only the type of the oil what we are taking, it is also the reuse of the oils which produces the largest amounts of the trans fatty acids. And there is enough data to state that the reuse of oils is more dangerous than using any kind of the oils. So in our household practices, we know that our elderly people, they are very fond of frying the things from an oil and then storing that oil, then reusing that oil again for the same purposes. So this practice should be abandoned, and this practice should not be carried forward because it is more dangerous than taking any of the oils. So why the trans fatty acids are being used frequently? Because they are cheaper. They do not turn rancid, unlike the vegetable oils. The unhydrogenated oils, they can turn rancid after some time. So these trans fatty acids, they do not turn. They have a longer shelf life, so you can store it for a longer time. They are easy to use. They impart a desirable taste and texture to the food product. So they are exclusively used in the high fat baked goods, cakes, pastries, biscuits, crackers, donuts, and cookies. So they have a high content of the trans fatty acids. And if we talk about the Indian snacks like gujia and the deep fried street foods like samosa and pakoda and kachoris, so these have a very high content of trans fatty acids. We all of us are observed that these samosas and pakodas, they are fried in a deep fried in a kadai, which is all the time filled with an oil. So you can imagine, you can understand how much reuse of these oils occurs when you are getting these snacks, the street foods from the market. So imagining that, you can understand how much of the trans fatty acids we ingest when we are taking these things from the market. So eating habits and the cardiovascular risk. Poor diet, it contributes to about 4 of the 6 leading causes of death: the heart disease, the cancer, stroke, and diabetes. So these are the 4 leading causes of death, and poor diet can lead to all these 4 causes. And it has been estimated that healthier diets could reduce the lakhs of crores in medical costs, lost productivity, and lost lives, more importantly. So what are the approaches of eating habits which can reduce the coronary artery disease risk? One approach to improving the diet is consumption of more plant-based foods. So we have been stressing and focusing upon taking the fruits, vegetables, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. So this is very important to reduce the CAD risk. The other is choosing the right kind of foods, be it cooking oil or other superfoods like almonds, walnuts. Apart from these, practicing the healthy cooking habits can be another approach. So how to cook the food is very important, as important as taking the food. So in an interesting study, it was carried out among the college students. It was seen that only 13% of the educated individuals, they paid attention to what they are consuming. So you can understand, even the youth does not know what they are consuming. So and therefore they are ignorant about what the side effects or what the long-term effects are going to be, whatever they take. So we need to focus also upon the Indian style of the cooking practices. We are a different nation. We have a different ideology. We have a different cooking pattern as well. You can see the good amount of Indian or South Asian cooking involves heating to a point where the oil starts smoking. Each one of us, we cannot claim that we have not seen the smoking point of an oil. Each one of us in our kitchen has seen one day or the other that things are being fried and we get a lot of flame from the while we are frying something. So this is how we deep fry our things. So there's a very little concept of cold food, except in salads, although some food items may be steamed like idli, dokla, etc. So we don't believe in the concept of the cold food, which is in fact very good for the health. Many dishes like non-veg like meat or seared, what we call the buno, they are cooked at high temperature in oil and then cooked slowly in a variable amount of liquid in a covered pot. So deep frying is another common problem, so as we have already discussed. So we are we are unique in that respect that we like more dry, we like to fry more than what is needed for the vegetable or the non-veg preparations. The smoke point is very important when we are choosing the the cooking oil, what we have to choose, and the preparation we are going to make. The smoking point is very important to understand. So it is the point beyond which, if any oil is heated, it starts emitting a bluish smoke. And chemically, it has influences chemically. What happens that when we, when the oil is heated to the smoking point, what happens that it breaks down into glycerol and free fatty acids. The glycerol further breaks down and gives to the rise to the formation of the acrolein, and this acrolein is one that causes the peculiar smell of the smoke and is extremely irritating to the eyes and throat as well. Taste wise, what happens at the smoke point, it also marks the beginning of degeneration of the flavor, giving an unpleasant and disagreeable flavor to the food. Biologically, what happens, it marks the conversion of other types of fats to trans fatty acids. Therefore, a key consideration while selecting a fat for frying is that its smoke point should be high. Lighter, more refined oils, they tend to have higher smoke points, while reused oil has a lower smoke point. Low smoke points are encountered with butter and extra virgin olive oil, which therefore may not be suited for most of the Indian cooking methods, only used for sprinkling of the salads or the light saute. So, then in nutshell, what I mean to say is that if we are going for some preparing the food for making pudis or deep frying, we need to use that oil which has a high smoke point. And if we just want to sprinkle on the salads, or we want to add something to the light saute, so we need to use the oils which have a low smoke point. So the smoke points of the various cooking oils are the butter, flaxseed oil, vanspati ghee, and extra virgin and virgin olive oil. They have a very low smoke point. So never use these oils for the frying, for making pudis or for making pakoras. They don't use these low smoke point oils. Similarly, canola, sunflower oil, vanaspati ghee, they have a low smoke point. If you want to if you have to deep fry the things, then use the oils which have a high smoke point. Like you can use ghee is better than any of the other oils when you have to deep fry the things. The mustard oil, the groundnut oil, the rice bran oil, and the safflower oil, they are better preferred or suited for the deep frying. And if you have to just sprinkle, make like you have to make pasta, or you have to just use a very little oil, while you don't have to fry more, then you can use the oils with a very low smoke point. So these are the 10 tips how the cooking pattern should be followed at the home. The ordinary home cooking does not lead to a significant production of trans fatty acids. So if you are using the oil, you can use any of the oils if you are not deep frying. And if you are not going to reach to the smoke point, you can use any of the oils, because ordinary home cooking, it is not going to lead to any significant production of trans fatty acids. But one needs to remember that we should avoid reaching the smoke point of any oil. So when you are choosing an oil, the cooking oil, you should know the smoke point of that oil, and then decide what oil you need for what preparation. So repeated reuse of oil, I repeat, the repeated reuse of oil, it is the major culprit for generation of trans fatty acids. So if you have fried the things and there is some oil left, please don't reuse it, just throw it away. Or use the less oil so that you don't get the remaining oil at your place. For cooking activities requiring prolonged high temperature like deep frying, use oils with a higher smoke point like refined safflower oil, rice bran oil, or mustard oil. Mustard oil is time tested. We have been using it for the years, decades now, And if for our pattern of cooking the mustard, there is no match to the mustard oil. For deep frying, mustard oil is much better than any other oils. Avoid oils with low smoke point for frying, deep frying, like butter, vanaspati ghee, extra virgin olive oil. Don't use these for frying. Choose oils with less than 4 grams of saturated fat per tablespoon. Eliminate partially hydrogenated oils. Don't use vanaspati ghee and margarine, or any for that matter, any hydrogenated oils. Use oils which are blends or combinations of oils. The balanced oil, which have a balance of the saturated fatty acids, the MOFA and the POFA in the ratio of 1:1:1, should be used for frying. Mustard oil and groundnut oil. If not for frying, just sprinkling, then use the extra virgin olive oil, for example, for pasta or preparations like that. You can use these oils. Oh, one should avoid out of home cooked foods. Don't take the street foods, especially cooked by continuous frying in a kadai, as I have already discussed. And some Indian snacks like gujia, chips, and bakery products and confectionaries, they should be avoided. So I feel we need to understand, when we are choosing the cooking oil for our ourselves and for our dears, we should take some points. We should consider some points. One, that the balance of these three components of the fatty acid should be almost equal to each other. Then we should focus on the smoke point. What's the smoke point of that particular cooking oil? Then the type of the preparations we are going to make. So these three parameters should decide and discuss decide what type of the cooking oil we should purchase and we should use. So thank you very much. I feel I have just fulfilled what Dr. Vittal wanted to me on from the medical perspective, and we will continue with in the future as well. Thank you very much.